This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have the pleasure of bringing Siavash straight from Culver City by way of London, by way of parts unknown. We're going to talk about his story, getting to the U.S., helping people change their lives in the U.S., changing your 12-pack that's covered with a cardboard box into a 6-pack. And we are going to go through the story of 6-pack Gym. But Siavash, why don't you first give us a little background on how you got here, which is an unbelievable story, and we'll riff from there.
Yes, Pete, thank you so much. First, thank you so much for having me here. You have an amazing platform, giving a chance to share my story. Thank you so much. So my story started, I'm originally from Iran. I was born in 1980, and right after I was born, Iran went to war with Iraq. Growing up through the war, seeing hundreds of dead bodies coming back from war, and we were in western part of Iran as well, where all the kind of a mess, people running away, sleeping on the street. Myself, I was the oldest kid standing in line to get bread, fuel to heat up our houses. It was just the chaos at the time, and my dad was sent to war. There was no escape from pain at the time, and we were part of a religious minority too, so the government was announcing us as infidel. And so they were not giving us jobs in Iran. So it was a very, very tough situation. We're moving from one city to another at a time because my dad had to make money. It was 4 kids. He had 4 kids. I was around 12 years old. I was playing soccer in the dirt one day. And one of my friends showed me Arnold's picture. At the time, bodybuilding was illegal in Iran because it was American sport, and it was they considered it American propaganda. Anything that was American, like boxing, chess, anything that was American was banned. So I saw Arnold's picture. I was so fascinated. He was at Venice Beach, looking larger than life. Everything that he represented, I wanted to be. He represented it. He wasn't hungry. He was just happy, larger than life. He was determined. I was a skinny kid at the time, getting bullied at school. So he was a perfect guy, and I wanted to be him. So I started going to black markets, looking at bodybuilding picture. I got really fascinated by it. At the time, myself, I was doing Taekwondo. So I started going in the back of a wrestling gym, couple of bar and dumbbells. I started lifting weight. I wasn't gaining much muscle or anything because we were not eating enough. But I was just dreaming about it, just looking at these pictures and staring at them all day long, reading whatever I could. A lot of misinformation at the time because our language wasn't English, so we didn't know what we were doing. We just trained the whole muscle from the neck all the way down to our toes every day. Then I was around 18 years old. I went to university. At a time, they were not letting us to go to university. Anybody that wasn't a Shia Muslim was not allowed to go to it. So I kind of check market that I lied, and I was one of the 65 kids that in the whole country got into an art school. So I went to university, but unfortunately, even at university, there was the gap of this not having money. It was causing a lot of issues. I was around 18 years old. One day in the backyard, we're shooting with the air gun. I noticed my right eye, I can't see good from it. And my uncle said, hey, take him to doctor. I went to doctor, and they told me that I have a cancer in my right eye.
Oh my God.
And in Iran, it was not treatable. They sent me to capital city everywhere. They said, this is not treatable in Iran, and it will leak to your liver, and it's over. So anywhere I go, my mom, my grandma, anybody, anywhere I go, people are thinking I'm dying. They're crying for me. It's just, I was walking around thinking, man, this can't be it. And this bodybuilding, light of bodybuilding, was this delusion in my head was keeping me, keep going, pushing forward. My dad gave me $100, and I left Iran. I said, you know what, I'm going to go fix this. I left in Iran, ended up in a refugee camp in England. It was crazy, people running away from the country. It was a madhouse. I was able to find a job in a pizza shop. I was just sleeping in a pizza shop, and at night during the day I was just passing a flyer, and in the afternoon I was helping him out with the pizza and stuff like that. I was under the oven and just flipping pages and dreaming about bodybuilding. And I found a gym called Temple Gym, owned by Dorian Yates. So I started training at Dorian Yates gym. I trained hard. I studied more. My English, I was just reading a lot of magazines and stuff like that. So my English was getting better as well. And at the gym was the kind of the escape for myself, because in England at the time, It was really rough. People hated, refugees, immigrant coming over there. They were thinking that, refugees changing their culture. There was a lot of backlash on the street, on TV every single day. It was send these guys back. It was just fear and fear, constant fear, because back home they were discriminating against us again for religion. And here I was stuck with this. I was like, man, I can't run away from this pain. And after a few years of not getting anywhere, I said to myself, I got to chase my dream before this cancer kills me. So I bought a fake passport and I said, I'm going to go to America and be Arnold. So I bought the fake passport. I got a ticket, and that's all I had in my name. That's it. I jumped in a plane. As soon as the plane landed in Chicago O'Hare, police came police came inside the plane and said, everyone remain seated. You, the big guy, stand up. So I stood up. They put handcuff on me and took me to prison. And then after that, they transferred me to maximum security prison because I was big. I could speak a bit of English. They thought I might be a militant from Iran. So I spent my first year in maximum security prison, constantly moving from one prison to another, handcuffed, blindfolded, just you name it, interviewed every single day. CIA, FBI agencies are coming and interviewing me to see if I'm not up to something bad. After almost a year, I go to the judge and he grants me asylum. They shake my hand and say, you know what, I was, to be honest, I wasn't mad at all because I broke the law. And I was there, they just had to make sure I'm good. So after that, they gave me the refugee status. I came out of prison homeless. I was on the street of Chicago. I called one of the cellmates in prison and I said, hey man, I'm outside on the street. So he took me home. He had a basement in Chicago. He throw a mattress over there. He said, hey, stay here till you figure it out. I stayed there for a couple months. I was going to library every day, printing out papers to see what should I do, how the system work in America. So then after that, I said, you know what, Chicago is cold. The first is snow. I jumped on a train, $135 I had. He was taking me to clean houses with him sometimes. So I say $135. I jumped on a train. Took me 2-3 days to get to California. I got here. Again, same thing, walking the street. I found being homeless, and then I found a security job. I was working as a security guard, but now that I'm in America, I'm training hard. I go to Gold's Gym, North Hollywood, and I train hard. I started getting ready for competition.
Cole Street? Cole Road?
No, Gold's Gym on Laura Canyon in North Hollywood.
Canyon, yeah, sure.
Laura Canyon, yeah, old school bodybuilding gym. And I started training, and there was a gentleman named Peter Longwood. He trained Flex Relive, Pole Delit, all these big time bodybuilders. So I became friend with him, and I asked him, hey, can you help me? He started training me for free. He taught me everything, how to train. So I started working with nutritionists. It's just I was working as a security guard all day long, and whatever I could save, I was just eating whole chicken from Ralph, just buying it a couple of chicken a day. Sure. Yeah. So I competed. I started competing, and now it's been almost 12 years that I haven't seen my family. I got my refugee passport, so I decided to go back I couldn't go back to Iran, so I went to Turkey to see them. My brother comes, my sister comes. They have kids. They're all grown up. I'm broke. I'm like a loser. Just like have a dream of being a bodybuilder. That's all I have. On the way back, I was just praying, and I got to America, and I noticed they fired me from my security job. So I said, I wasn't catching a break. I was like, man, I got to do something. So it was a couple of months. I was keep looking for a security job, but I couldn't find any security job because there was a lot of soldiers coming back. They were asking for the same job, and they were a lot more qualified than I was. So they were getting the job for minimum wage. So after 2-3 months, the unemployment office gave me a $3,000 money payback. And for the last 2-3 months that I didn't work, I had this $3,000 in my hand, and I said, God, this is that's all I have. I got to do something with it. So I saw this empty place in Culver City, $1,900. So I said to myself, I can probably turn this to a gym. I went and I shook the guy's hand. I gave him the $1,900. I had a bar and a dumbbells, but because of the way I've trained myself, I knew how to train people. So I just put a banner up there, hey, lose up to 15 pounds a month. People would walk in, they would come and say, where's the gym? I said to them, here's the gym. There's nothing in here. There's absolutely no mats, nothing. There's a bar and a couple of plates. And I said, hey, just pay me for a month and I'll train you, see how you feel. So I was training and I was killing them. And because I didn't have much of equipment and anything, so I made my session 30 minutes. I made it because I had to tax their muscle within 30 minutes. So I was training them hard and everybody was surprised and they were going telling their friends to start referring their friend. People were coming and I was so passionate about it at the time. It was for me at the time, it was all about training these people, not going back to my security job and just being a bodybuilder. My main reason for the gym was to be able to train hard to be a Mr. Olympia myself, like Dorian Yates, the way he did it, being in the dungeon. But along the way, people were start praising me so much. I was finding friends, me being homeless, not having anybody. Now it's all these American people around me. They're showering me with love, support. Everybody, most of these Culver City people who can afford the personal training, they were all managers, bosses, marketing people. They were all giving me tips and advice. One day, a client, I signed up a client. He lost 50 pounds. His name is Daniel Rosen. He has a big, very successful company, and he started giving me business advice. So he told me, Siavash, you're sitting on something really good. You can turn this to a really good, successful business. So he started giving me tips, and I will start applying it. I started applying at the gym and started growing and growing. And then in 2020, I started building a good following in Culver City. In 2020, when the COVID shut us down, especially in California, it was very strict. And I have a gas station, 800 for a gas station turned into a gym. So I turned outside in a parking lot. A mayor, the government announced that, hey, you can only train outside. I sat in the gym. I said, man, if I go home, that's it. This is it. It's over for me. So I sat there and I said, I got to figure something out. I'll put a couple of benches outside in the parking lot, and then with a barbell and dumbbell, going back to the first days of me opening a gym. I start training people through the COVID and doubled my business because now everybody else was shut down. People start, I don't have a marketing budget, that huge budget. So now people start seeing me, especially me being outside training them. And through that time, I started writing Daniel told me, hey, while the gym is not that busy at the beginning of the COVID, this 3 months shutdown, I started writing my life story of where I come from, how I built this gym. So this last few years, I've been able to build a team, to build a very, very successful gym. It's like I'm living a dream. I bought a house in Marina Del Rey. I have my muscle cars. I have everything beyond what I dreamed. So it's been an amazing ride. And along the way, the best part of it, I would say, the people that I've met and these beautiful people that always wanted to help me, support me. You, Pete, yourself being here, giving me the platform, I consider it as a huge help as well. So it's been an amazing ride.
A couple of questions for you.
Yes,
And to kind of go all the way back, my generation is the only generation that has not had to go to war. It hasn't gotten drafted or hasn't been in either the National Guard or into the Army. I was born in '72, so it's kind of I didn't have to go to Vietnam, I didn't have to go to Korea, I didn't have to go to World War II. And like I hear stories from like my grandfather back in the day of what being on a ship and kind of not knowing where he's going, and not knowing how many people are coming back. As you kind of grew up in that like war torn, your dad goes away and there's no food. Has it kind of changed your frame of reference on like, I got a work situation that, I got to figure out how to fix. And you kind of like harken back to say, well, is it going to be any worse than what I have gone through like in my life? Does it kind of set your ability to kind of say, throw the hardest challenge at me? Like, I'm going to figure it out.
I at the time I didn't, to be honest, I wasn't as conscious as now that I see it. But along the way, nothing was. I felt like nothing could stop me because when it was war, I remember one of the incident is like I saw Iran in public execution. I was 8 years old. I saw this public execution. 19 years old, they pulled them up, and these guys were kicking on the rope. For 2 weeks, like as a kid, 2 weeks I did not have any feeling. I wasn't feeling, and it was constant. I was waiting for death. I was and I think later on they told me that this cancer probably appeared because you're wishing death on yourself. Constantly. Dishing. Yeah, it's just you look at kind of Yeah, I think it kills a certain feeling inside you, so you
Yeah,
don't feel as much. That's the way I want to put it. I can't say
yeah,
I'm conscious about it. It's just I feel like it killed certain feelings, so I could push through pain. Like I'm sitting in a prison in like actually I'm staring at the wall for days and days, and I'm not seeing a
yeah. It's
sky. I'm not
unbelievable.
seeing anything. So
Yeah,
you go crazy, but if you want to feel it, if you want to feel it, if you want to go with feeling forward, it's really brutal. It will be very brutal. So I feel like that kind of killed certain aspect of me.
yeah.
That's why I was able to push, and I think that's part of being an entrepreneur. I think the traumas.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like you got like a business school degree, unfortunately, in like the worst type of circumstances in order to like prepare you for
Yes.
starting a business, which probably felt like, hey, this is as hard as it's going to get. Like it's not as hard as it was, psychologically and physically or emotionally before. One thing I want to ask you as I was writing down some notes, and you're talking about like working in a pizza place. I want to ask you a question, and I'll tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
When I was back in 2000 to 2003, I started up a software company in Arizona,
Uh-huh.
and I graduated in business school. So it was like I never really failed before. And the internet crashed, and then September 11th happened.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I can't let this company fail. So any way I could keep it going, whether it was borrow money and then pay it back, whether it was withholding people's paychecks for like a couple of days just to see if something came in the mail. And then we did this deal with the chief marketing officer at Balance Bar. They
Uh-huh.
wanted to distribute these caramel nut blast was like their new bar. So we
Uh-huh.
cut a deal with them. We had like 1,000 locations. I'm like, hey, we could drop ship like 500 balance bars as like little samples to each one of the
Mhm.
clubs. And I was like, they paid us like 10 grand or something. And something in the back of my head said, look, I don't know if I'm going to be able to eat over the next couple of months because we didn't have any money. So I basically put down as one of the health clubs that were in our network was the office address of my software company. And I literally kept 500 caramel nut blast bars like in my drawer. And I would basically eat that with Diet Coke for like a month. So looking back, like I can't eat a caramel nut blast balance bar again because it brings me back to that time of like rationing. So my question for you is like, do you love pizza right now or like you can't even eat it?
No, no, I don't have any feeling toward it. Just it doesn't remind me of those days. But I don't eat pizza and stuff like that. But
Okay, okay.
once,
But that's
once
for
in a
health
while,
reasons, not for like, look, I don't want to like remember like this
yeah,
time
yeah,
that you have like a
once
flashback.
yeah, once in a while. But I would say to the audience, even when I was doing the pizza, I was sleeping in a pizza shop and all that stuff. I was still very conscious. I was constantly learning. I think one of the thing that I was always looking around. How can I learn from these guys? The culture, even the name of the pizza shop was Gogo Pizza Gogo. I remember one
Yeah.
time the owner was saying, "Oh, the name is so catchy. The name should be 4 words, so it's a hook." So that's how I came up with Six Pack Gym as well. The name because it was
So
such
you're
an
like
important
rhyming,
thing.
like
Yeah,
intonation, like six
yeah,
pack gym,
yeah. I
go
constantly
go pizza.
yeah, because I kind of I'm very fascinated with the culture. Like when I'm in America, for example, I figured out the system. I was constantly watching them to see what kind of behavior get rewarded here. The people who risk here, they get rewarded. So it's just like a setting. So I try to learn as much as I can. It doesn't matter what situation that is. I will try to say, hey, okay, there is something here that I need to learn to go to the next level.
Yeah.
Um,
When you look at like Planet Fitness and you know that they have Tootsie Rolls at the front desk and they give pizza every Friday, you like, look, man, like I'm telling you, this isn't like the road to results.
yeah, it's just they're pretty smart. They actually figured out who their avatar is, and they talking to them. So I
Yeah.
was just kind of, I at the beginning I was I was pretty much very against all these gyms, their approach. But then later on, when I got involved in business a lot more, I realized each gym serves a certain avatar. So
Sure.
all of us we are basically serving this huge community, and as long as they come into the gym, it's all good. However you want to get them. If people don't like my approach, if they go to Planet Fitness, all good as long as they training. And my approach and my avatar is completely different people. So I go after busy professional who don't have time. Which that 30 minutes I told you guys, not having equipment has been a blessing for me because it's a great pitch now that I
Yeah,
use.
sure, sure. I mean, everything's gone towards like functional training and
Yeah.
you know what you need and what you don't need. And yeah, I see some of the build out costs of some of these clubs. And I'm like, gee, like I don't know when you're ever going to get
Mhm.
that return back. As you take a look at where you were to where you are now, and you got one location and it seems to be doing extremely well. do you have an urge to open up a second location, to open up a 10th location? Or do you say, you know what, like I'm helping a lot of people. I got to where I want to be. And the reason why I'm asking this is, a lot of people come up to me even at this trade show, they're just out like, hey, I want to raise money. I want to, bring in a capital partner. It's like, careful what you wish for, because you basically been an entrepreneur for X number of years, and now you're basically coming in and you're marrying, a equity firm, or you're marrying, an investor, and you really don't know what their mannerisms are. You don't know how they're going to view the business. You don't know if they're going to be a good partner or a bad partner. um, do you have a view on that, to say,
Yes.
like success is not something that you decide, it's what I decide for myself?
Yes, I actually have a very clear vision of where I want to go. I believe for most people that they want to get into a gym business, which is a dream of everyone that goes to the gym to have their own
Sure.
gym. A lot of people, it needs a lot of capital, a lot of setup. So my system is just basically me looking at myself 12, 13 years ago when I started a gym. So I want to teach people to start little gyms like mine, six pack gym in the garage. In the garage, it can be a little very a small location, and start with minimal equipment. So now I have built courses for them to certify them, and I've built courses on operation, how to run a business for them. So they with a very small, the main thing for me, the low barrier to get into the business. And those people, they don't want to grow it probably to make it as a stressful as a many gym owners they go through. But having a little place, serving a little community, changing lives, and just having a very streamlined operation that they don't have to beat around the bushes figuring things out. So that's my vision. I'm hoping to have a six-pack gym all over. And with my fee right now, what I'm trying to charge people is $6,000 a year to start their own six-pack gym, and pretty much I teach them everything. And the whole my value ladder start with my book, A Small Gym, Big Result, which is people reading it, understanding what I'm doing, how successful six-pack gym it is, and showing to them how practical this is to apply. So I'm building that new business right now. I'm building most of my time going toward that, building all these content. But again, I'm in a search for how my approach should be. How should I go about it? I'm still polishing it.
So, in closing here, we'll have all the show notes of your book and the information on getting your club in Culver City. We'll release the podcast. If there's one, quote, or if there's something that you say to yourself, or if there's, a phrase that you want to tell fellow, trainers who want to aspire to own their own business, how would you kind of encapsulate that?
I would say everything that you're going through, the painful time of your life you're going through, at the time it might be painful, but later on it become your asset. My book is all about the bad stuff that I went through. All this the knowledge that I'm sharing with a lot of people, client coming in, is from those bad times. These bad times, whatever you're going through, it will be your asset. Just hang in there, push through. And the thing is with business, you grow along the business. You cannot just grow the business without growing yourself. So just take it as, hey, having fun, not get too caught up in the money and stuff like that. To realize that you're growing and the business is growing, serving people. So I would say those painful moments, they all become your asset at one point.
That's great. Well, on behalf of the Halo sector, I want to thank you for immigrating here, however way you got here. I really don't care. But it's good that you're here. Sounds like a little bit of a more treacherous road than I expected. But thanks for what you're doing. Look forward to seeing you out in California when I'm out there next. And taking risk and getting returns is really what life's about, right? So you're the epitome of that. So look forward to your future progress, and stay in one location and help thousands of people instead of trying to be everything to everybody. Maintain that local community and to get people results. So thanks for being on.
Thank you, Pete, for having me on your podcast. Thank you so much for letting me share my story. And thanks for everyone listening. Appreciate you guys.